Only one of us wearing a Big Beer Week t-shirt.
Yeah,
Only one
dang
not on
it.
camera.
Oh, this is such a wonderful start.
Yeah. I wore 3 of them last week.
All right, back with us again. We have our good friends from Lupulin Brewing. What is going on, everybody? Thanks for jumping on.
What up?
Hello.
Thanks for having us. It's good to be back. Good to be back with the boys. Appreciate it. Appreciate you
I'll
having us back on.
still never look at fruit the same way again, but
Well, I'm glad that we had that lasting impression on you. That's important.
Hey, PETA liked the post, by the way. Just saying. Yeah.
spreading awareness.
Spreading awareness.
Good.
One fruit at a time.
But we are not here for fruit. We are here to discuss the infamous Big Beer Week. Justin, I'll toss it over to you first, but obviously everyone chime in. What is Big Beer Week?
So, Big Beer Week is the 1 week a year that we dedicate to featuring all of our big barrel-aged beers. Anything that's high ABV makes the cut, but we really have a focus on things that are barrel-aged, different varieties of barrel aging, different varieties of barrels specifically to kind of explore what the different types of spirit barrels can bring to the same beer. And so it gives us the opportunity to age and play with a variety of different flavors. And then also we've been introducing all sorts of different stuff. Anything that's over 10% ABV, right? That's our requirement, 10% ABV-ish. It's our guideline.
Usually, roughly 10%.
Right.
Like we've
It's the way we advertise it.
kind of
So
allowed,
Niners,
like Blissful Ignorance usually hangs on at 9%.
Right.
The last couple of years we've had Belgian Triple on, and that's at 9% as well.
Things that slumber in barrels that have some nice like oaky notes,
Not
or
necessarily barrel,
but like
Yeah.
also like higher ABV beers.
we don't
as
actually know
well.
what it is.
And you know, things like big triple IPAs, that's something that we've been loving to feature every year, is like trying to brew a big, super hoppy triple IPA every year for Big Beer Week, something that's released during Big Beer Week, to kind of partake in all the fun that is had with all the other barrel aged varieties and stuff like that.
And this year we actually even are adding a Scribbled Lines beer to the mix. We have our first mixed culture barrel aged beer over 10%.
Right. That was one of the things that Aaron and I had kind of talked about in previous years. And Aaron's over here. This is our head innovation brewer, and him and I work together on a lot of the mixed culture barrel aging stuff here, as well as the clean barrel aging too. But we're happy to be able to introduce our first mixed culture beer into the Big Beer Week lineup this year, which was it's cool to join the ranks of our production brewery on the other side of these walls here, out for that fun week.
Celebration of us going 7 days a week, because like before Big Beer Week we were 4 days a week, and this was kind of our kickoff to going to 7 days a week.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, because it's a Sunday to Sunday, right? Sunday to Sunday. Yep.
Started as a 7 day,
Originally it was
but
just
now
a Saturday, and then we added
way too many
a
beers.
second
Like,
Sunday.
as you can tell, plenty of beers for 7 days. So
I believe it's
Oh, man.
39 releases, so it'll eventually take over the entire tap line.
Usually, by the end of the week, you'd be hard pressed to find something under 9% alcohol.
yeah,
Because how many taps do we have here?
36.
So we have 36 taps, and often by the end of the week, most of them are occupied by some of these huge offerings that we have, because it's hard to blow through certain things in the course of a couple days. Some stuff does, but some stuff hangs around. So by the end of the week, the variety is
Wonderful.
yeah. It's Marcus's favorite thing too. Marcus is one of our biggest fans of our biggest beers. Yeah.
So long of the short of it, this is no typical beer event. This is something straight out of Lupulin, straight unique, and it's just the amount that you guys have produced and are rolling out it's mind-boggling. It's amazing. I mean, you just shared the entire spread with Hoppy and I literally moments before pressing this record button, and I'm like, my jaw is to the ground right now. Like, all of these look unbelievable, and I mean it's Lupulin. It is only unbelievable. But like, we're gonna go through a few of them, but just again, for anybody who's new to Lupulin, anybody who's new to Big Beer Week, like you talked about the spread and how you're going to be doing it on site, but just what was more the inspiration behind this, and why so many beers?
The main reason, like, When I came on like 5-6 years ago, they wanted 6 years ago. Yep, this will be 6 years. Yeah. They wanted to do a whole kickoff on being open 7 days a week. We had a lot of like fantastic barrel-aged beers in the back. We wanted to showcase that. They had just installed a bunch of new taps. So we kind of wanted to make a little shindig out of it. And it went off so well. It was just like we wanted to keep going with that energy. And every year it gets bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a lot bigger.
It kind of feels like a week-long Oktoberfest too. You know, it's like those like one-day festivals, but it lasts for 8 days straight.
With
You know?
beers that are triple the alcohol.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
much boozier offerings. You know.
It's like
So have
8
you ever
days
had
a
someone that
week.
like comes in off the street, has no idea about this event, and then just like walks out just hammered off their ass? Or
A lot of that. A lot of that.
Walk in, what the hell's going on in here?
You'll still know about the event and still probably walk out hammered at some point.
Yeah.
it's different if you go in with that expectation, though.
True. Yeah.
We've even changed the format a little bit to help people with that. It used to be a free-for-all all day long. Come in, drink whatever you want for like the entire day. We've shortened it up to smaller blocks just to kind of keep people a little more level because, 3, 4, 10%ers add up real quick.
Yeah, sometimes people need a little bit of you need to help guide them a little bit to ensure that they're not becoming a danger to themselves on a week like this with like this level of ABV circulating through the taps.
That's why I always say like the 5-ounce pours are your friend because you can try so many more and not have to drink an entire glass. Like, don't be shy of like the 5-ounce pours though.
Well, so my like 10, 11 ounce that I got going right now is probably aggressive.
But you're at home, so like.
And one of the questions you asked about why so many different beers. So what's actually cool about Big Beer Week is that being able to have this level of variety of beers and having this kind of event and just attendance, like just straight up attendance and the amount of beer that we're able to sell through it, we get to do these different kinds of beers that are unique in the way that we might not be adding like different types of adjuncts, like a bunch of different like fruits or like chocolates or nuts and vanilla and different things like that. We're able to do fun stuff that excites us as brewers and all of us here as just like beer enthusiasts, that stuff like putting the same beer in just 2 different spirit barrels. Like we've done things like just from like Woodford and Four Roses. Took a beer, same beer, aged them in Woodford barrels, aged them in Four Roses barrels, and just being able to explore those unique differences that are imparted by the barrel itself is something that we might not be able to do if we didn't have this entire week dedicated to just doing like a tap takeover of this type of stuff, because it is like a little bit more of like a niche thing, but this niche thing has turned into like a pretty big thing for us that allows us to have all these types of different things and this different like level of exploration that we can do with flavors and barrel aging and unique stuff like that.
But
Yeah.
if you're like me and you do like candy bars and beer, we also have an infusion every single day of the week.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you guys talked about last time I was on the last podcast. This weekly infusion thing called Bradham's, where we put silly shit in beers, like atomic fireballs and little deadly snacks. During Big Beer Week, we do that every single day. You'll look at the list we sent you at the very bottom of each day. We have a big crazy infusion, and they're all in the big beers.
Nice.
I don't have the list in front of me, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's my favorite part of Big Beer Week.
That's
we-
true.
and we
My
also-
wife
we also-
loved the crunch berry was my wife's favorite.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good,
Yeah.
good. Aaron, you're saying too
I was
about
going
the
to say that,
fruiting?
like even on like full batch scale, we have done some and continue to do some fruiting or adjuncting of stouts and big beers. We just, as brewers, like find it especially exciting to kind of explore the nuances of different barrels. Maybe more so than adding candy to the beer, but that's not to say that we don't do that either.
Right.
Or enjoy it. That every once in a while.
We just love being able to have the opportunity to do it all and to be able to cater to all those different flavors and stuff like that everyone might be looking for, right? Like everyone kind of has a different taste, and being able to hopefully appeal to everyone during an event like this it's what we love to do.
I mean, not only that, but like I think it teaches people to have a different appreciation for barrel aged beers because, I used to love the ones with the adjuncts in it, but now like I'm always impressed with these guys and what they can do with like playing with a couple of different barrels and blending them, and they create this super unique flavor that you would swear there has to be something else in it. And they're like, that's from the barrels. It's like an artistry to be able to blend these barrels and sample these and know what needs to sit for how long. And like, it's really cool to watch them work and then see what comes from it and taste it and just be blown away. So,
that is a lot of the fun. And it's not even just like the barrel age, because as we talk, we've got triple IPAs, we've got a sour coming out this time. So it's like, if there's a box that needs to be checked, there's a good chance that we're working our way through it.
So I think the short and cocky answer to that question then is because we can.
And why not?
Yeah.
So that brings us, it reminds me, it's what we're here for. Let's explore some nuances. So what we've got here, and so we're located here in Big Lake, Minnesota, and unfortunately we have tried to get beer into Canada to our good friend Isha here and have been turned down somewhere along the line through some part of the postal system, didn't to get it there, but we're able to get it to our good buddy Scott here, who is not far away from our brewery. So what we've got here is this year's iteration of Whiskey Nuts, one of the iterations of this year's Whiskey Nuts, and it was aged in barrels from a distillery that's also local to Minnesota here. And these were aged in barrels that were significantly smaller than your standard barrel. They're a very small batch whiskey.
Aaron's
not
saying
true?
not true.
It's not true?
No.
Aaron, feel free to take over
In
too.
the past, some of the Tattersall barrels that we've used have been 30-gallon ones. These two that made up this blend, these two in this blend were full 53-gallon.
Oh. That's why we have my fact checker here. He keeps me in mind. But
take back over.
So we have, and we have used some of those smaller barrels from Tattersall, but frankly I lose track sometimes.
We hate them because the bung holes are too big.
Yeah.
The little barrels have got too big of a bung hole.
Little barrels with
Got
big
it.
bung holes.
So, but what we've got, this was a blend of two of those barrels, correct?
Yeah, two 53-gallon.
Yeah, so two 53-gallon barrels, and one of them was the Tattersall chocolate malt whiskey, and the other one was the Tattersall cherrywood smoked malt whiskey.
Ooh.
And it's blended basically in equal parts. Each barrel, after barrel aging, has about the same volume. It's close, there's a slightly varying levels of evaporation, but they existed, I think, actually on the same rack, so they're really close to one another. So yeah, that is, and what this is exactly what I was talking about. This is us playing around with barrels that had a unique spirit in them prior to the beer going in them, and us being able to pull that kind of character and component out of that barrel and that previous spirit and let it express itself in our beer and kind of just see what happens. And I mean, we've never used either of these types of barrels before. So this is our first time using them, and we were just stoked with the product that came out. And really how this comes about is Aaron and I generally go back there and we pull some samples from some barrels and try them and dump some glasses together and have the rest of the gang around here try them and see what we think. And like, hey, shit, this is pretty good. So.
One of the best days at work when those guys decide to start pulling nails out of barrels and sampling things.
They're the best days, but they're the worst days. There's nothing
they're
that comes from those
derailing days for sure.
There you go. Distracting days.
Scott, what are some of the what do you pick up on this? What do you think of this guy?
First and foremost, absolutely shocked. Usually when you get a big barrel weekend beer, it's thick, syrupy, just smacks you in the face, and this is so dangerously drinkable. You wouldn't expect it to be 13%. A lot sweeter than I would have expected too. Not the rich that you always get, but it's really sweet. And I get that cherry a lot more than I expected to from the barrel. But I don't know, man, incredible beer. I don't know how much further to go than that.
Good. I'm glad you like it, man. Appreciate it.
Isha, what about you?
I mean, I have some Woodford Reserve, but that's about it. Close
She's
by.
getting drunker than all of us.
I was gonna say too, it's unfortunate that we only had maybe the wherewithal to try 3 beers tonight, because the larger batch of Whiskey Nuts we did, and not that you, Isha, would be able to partake with us, but the larger batch was done in Woodford Reserve Rye, barrels, and the two beers, despite being the same base beer, are incredibly different.
Okay.
So it just speaks to the difference you're going to get using different barrels.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, by all means, I'm always accepting if you want to send different versions for me to do more comparisons for you.
Well, I heard you were going to maybe come out during Big Beer Week, so I'm sure we can.
Still firming up the details on that, but I think we can make something happen.
Make sure you have a ride.
No, make sure I have a hotel. Yeah.
We'll find a place for you.
So my buddy who's sampling over here with me actually asked a really good question, and it's probably one of two paths, but why out of the 3 barrels I have, one just says barrel aged, one says that it's an Islay Scotch, but nothing further, and one says specific Tattersall whatever barrels?
That is a good question. So I would say, I mean, Aaron, what do you think? What would be your?
I wanted Justin's answer first, and then I wanted the real answer.
Well, so my first thing would just be a lack of real estate on the label and not wanting the label to get too wordy.
But that label's wordy is what he's saying. Like that would be, that one has
but so the one that doesn't actually specify what all is in it would be about 3 times the length of that.
Yeah,
it's on your cheat sheet.
If you read
It's a
your
full
sheet,
novel.
you can read the entire description and
Fair,
see why
fair.
that did not end up on the label.
And so, because it's a bunch of different
that
types
was
of
2
barrels
different barrels.
and
This was 5 different barrels.
Okay.
Okay, so that's more your personal choice rather than like something that's, it's Tattersall, it's Minnesota, let's highlight them, or hey, this distillery said no, you can't put our name on your label, anything like that.
Nope. Yeah. So and we're not trying to conceal the components or anything. Yeah. Like we definitely will be like it's on the schedule that's going to be available publicly. It'll be on the Untapped listing. When we talk about it on Facebook or Instagram, it'll list all the different components and how long it's spent in each of those barrels. I think it was mainly just from a cleanliness and appearance on the label that we decided to not have all the detail there.
These aren't on Untapped yet, are they?
No,
they probably aren't.
That's on my list and it's coming soon.
Outside of
these are all really nice words of ways of saying that I fucked up on the labels, but it's fine.
No way, dude. That'd be way too much shit to put on there.
First off, the last person at Lupulin being blamed for anything is the guy who makes the beautiful labels on the regular. So
okay. For everything.
Well, I mean, if you ask Alabama Boss, he would say he doesn't want to read all that bullshit poetry stuff.
And also with that, like. To your point, though, too, about wanting to include Minnesota, like anything that's local, like we love to be able to source that type of stuff from places that are local. And at any given opportunity that we have, we will always put that on there and talk about that too, because, it's like that kind of like sense of like people like that feeling of having like local, just stuff that is local, right? And when 2 different businesses that are local that might be familiar to the people working together and making a product and stuff like that, or it's good for us, it's good for everybody, and it's just we're proud to be associated with their experience.
I think
and everything.
Sometimes too we don't talk about it enough because we actually especially on Scribbled Lines almost exclusively are using like Minnesota grown and malted barley and wheat. And in a lot of beers, especially in our smaller batches, are using tons of local malt, and sometimes we don't talk about it enough. So
feel free to tell the marketing team.
I say, but honestly, if you look at the bottle too, because you pulled in the Tattersall, like part of Tattersall's art.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
like if you
on this label, the color scheme and the background pattern, it's all Tattersall. So.
Yeah,
you can see that plaid. So like, gold, definitely trying to do a call out to them as well.
I work with what I have.
And he just gets mad at us and he yells at us because we don't give him enough information. And then sees when we're actually to blame.
We like to blame each other here. That's all it boils down to.
Or nobody.
Well, all right. Well, while I get this cracked and start moving into the next one of the Barrel God with the Islay Scotch barrels. curious from anyone over there, because I know you mentioned obviously the fun of this is taking the same base beer and seeing how the different barrels completely change it. I mean, Justin, when I came out there for the event you guys had here a couple months back, like I literally had 2 beers that I thought one was like a really good red wine, and I thought the other one was like a completely different beer. And you're like, yeah, this is literally the exact same thing. We just put a little bit different barrel on it. And so like, it's cool to see how different they can be. Do you see much difference if you take like 2 different bourbon barrels? Like, how much does it change the beer? And like, can you kind of replicate and take that and use it if it's something that you really like versus something else?
So what's interesting too is, so when you like in the terms of 2 different bourbon barrels, I would say you could have 2 different bourbon barrels that came from the same distillery, like the same order. Like say you get 2 Woodford Reserve barrels, like those 2 different barrels can yield a totally different product themselves. Like often you will have 2 different barrels from the same exact batch that taste totally different. And then when you're using 2 different types of bourbon barrels or 2 different varieties of bourbon, then they often are very, very different. But what is interesting is that, yeah, you can get a different type of expression from the same batch of barrels, the same exact thing, but it just ages differently. And so one of those things that can impact that too is the temperature and the humidity of the area that you're aging the barrels in. So like behind us here, the different elevation of these barrels, and especially this room's a little more tightly temperature controlled than where our bourbon barrels sleep, which is out in the production area out there. But just the difference in the temperature, that will impact the way that the beer interacts with the barrel and the way that it ages and what you'll get from it.
So, I mean, obviously, to your point, you kind of hit on it earlier too. Like, there's a lot that goes into play: temperature, humidity, just the whole environment. But okay, we get a Blanton's barrel and we get an Old Fitz barrel. Both of them sitting right next to each other, same conditions. Like, are you going to be able to like get distinguishable differences in your opinion? Or is it just like if it's a similar bourbon, like Okay, interesting.
So like an example of that was last year, our 2 variants of Barrel God were both the same batch, barrels filled the same day, aged like within a week, the same amount of time. Half of it was Four Roses bourbon, and the other half was Woodford Reserve bourbon, and they were very different. I think that,
no, they're like if we're using 2 different bourbon or 2 barrels that had 2 different bourbons, I would feel almost like guarantee that it would end up with a different product. And even like I was saying, like, and that's the reason that I would almost feel like that's a for sure thing, is because when you have the same bourbon, same everything, even that will give you a different
from barrel
product
to barrel within the same bourbon brand. You might see differences, or you probably will see differences. So and I mean, we saw that last year. Yeah,
it can make for a fun pantry of stuff to kind of pick through and work from. And like, if you like find the same nuances in certain barrels, you can group those together in a small blend. Like if you do find some similarities, you can put those together and kind of really play off that. And then, or if you find some differences that balance each other out and blend really well, that's kind of what's nice about it too, is it really gives you a lot of options.
I mean, speaking of pantry, if you like take a look in the background of them, like this is the Scribbled Lines pantry, where like you guys are putting the same beer into multiple barrels that are usually incredibly similar, but yet every barrel always tastes slightly different than the other one. Like, it's,
and we do a lot more kind of small scale blending in the mixed culture side, than we do on the clean barrel side. But
and speaking of barrels imparting flavor,
or whatever works.
Let's talk about this fantastic Barrel God we got in front of us.
So, Barrel God.
So this is our Barrel God, and this is one of our mainstays, or our you could almost call it like a core of Big Beer Week.
Yeah, it's like a flagship. Barrel aged Imperial Stout.
Absolutely.
This is the heart of Big Beer Week.
And and this was aged in, I have mispronounced this enough times, Islay.
It's actually, so we
on
Friday night, that at least
I say Islay, so
pronunciation is Isla.
And these were freshly dumped Islay Scotch, or had we used these prior?
We hadn't used them prior. I mean,
It had to come across on a boat. It's not freshly.
far
By the time we get it.
as far as procuring barrels from another country through a broker and getting them here in time to fill them, how freshly dumped are they? Probably not as freshly dumped as you would like them to be.
Fresh
but
as she gets.
we never used them. There was nothing used. They weren't used for anything in between the Scotch coming out and us putting barrel gun into them.
Right.
And the good news is they didn't leak too bad once we got them, so it's as fresh as we're gonna get.
They were still quite tight.
Yeah.
And
Now,
these
hang
were-
on. I was promised that I was going to get all the detail I wanted on this PDF. And all I see in the description is Barrel God 22 Isla Scotch. And then the description is Imperial Stout aged in Isla Scotch barrels.
What
Which
else do you
Isla
do?
Scotch barrels?
Oh.
So
that
that we don't know. I mean, that is
Why did you ask that question?
Information was withheld from us upon the order, I guess. We don't
So
even
that's
know.
kind of part of like some, especially maybe more difficult to get barrels, compounded by the fact that they're coming from out of the country. We're buying them through a broker. As much as we know is that they were Isla Scotch barrels.
I didn't even think about that, Scott. Didn't even cross my mind.
I thought it was.
I thought about it
That's a
because
good question.
multiple people have
I
asked
thought it was a brand.
last week. Multiple people have asked that question. So,
But what
that's
we do know
great.
is it was definitely a peated Scotch.
well, so
Oh,
Isla
yes, I can taste
is
that.
the definite- so that like when we buy them from the broker, you have two options: they're non-peated Scotch or Isla Scotch.
Okay.
So
Isla Scotch being peated.
It's like the type of like Scotch that are made in the regions. All
It's
that.
Kirkland. It's Kirkland Isla. I got you.
Yeah, you got it.
And see, I'm
Kirkland
unashamed.
brand.
I'm not super familiar with like
Scotch.
not a Scotch aficionado, but
I don't think
I'm
any
here to
of-
learn
any
too.
of us would
Here to learn
claim
too.
to be a Scotch guy.
Yeah.
See, I'm way bigger on bourbon personally, but yeah, any Scotch that you find, like the flavor profile is 100% related directly to the region of Scotland it's made in. Isla is like the strongest, peatiest because it's right there on the ocean, so you get all the salt character as it ages in the barrels. But and then like the light baby version, like if you've ever had Glenlivet, like that's a Speyside. Speyside is like the most basic, light, not aggressive Scotch that you can have.
Well, and also with how do you say it? 'Cause I wanna say
Isla.
Isla.
I love.
A lot of the malts are malted with peat moss. It's like they burn peat moss, and that's where a lot of that peat smoke is coming from.
Okay.
And that's the reason why you're picking up some of those smoky notes in there.
So, but I would also say that in this, we were a bit surprised by how restrained the peatiness
Yes.
and smokiness
Agreed.
was.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, we were very much prepared to blend this with something else, or blend it with non-barrel aged beer to tone it down potentially.
Sure.
And when we tasted it, we decided that that wasn't necessary because it wasn't overpowering and it had a bunch of the nice nuances of that peated Scotch without being overbearing, and like even someone maybe that wouldn't enjoy a peated Scotch would be able to enjoy this beer.
Yeah.
Oh, can completely agree.
I would like a lot of those scotches to take. There's a lot of those other scotches when you get that peated smoke in there. It's like a campfire, but like this has got like that nice
Not-
underlayer.
I dig it. I'm not gonna lie. I had my first Lagavulin experience over the holidays, and
Yeah, you were already like 5 fingers in, so
I mean,
taste profile is not on par.
yes, I was like a few Hibiki glasses in, some Gladnock, but I was pleasantly surprised with just the whole style of it.
Oh man, but this one, I can definitely say this is what I expected in the first one, being that it's definitely like a thicker, like syrupy is more like what I would use, not because it tastes like syrup, but just like that little
Mouthfeel.
thickness to it, the mouthfeel. It's rich instead of sweet. So like
Mhm.
this, like if you literally want to just have like a 5-ounce pour of whiskey nuts and then this Barrel God with the Isla, like go back and forth, you'd be in a pretty good spot.
A danger spot.
Well, I think that's like a good thing about like Big Beer Week is like Barrel God is the flagship, and that is the
Flagship.
Imperial.
Sorry.
Cut her off.
Um,
Not quite yet. She gets better as she goes. So let's just wait a little bit.
This from the guy that can't say 2 words.
Plurals.
That's on standard
plural.
for me.
My point was like, so Barrel God is like the flagship, and it is. It's that bigger, thicker, more syrupy Imperial Stout you're looking for a barrel aged, and they've done such a great job of incorporating whiskey nuts as well into like the second probably most recognized brand of Big Beer Week, and it is made from a brown ale. That's what it's like. The base beer is, so it's
An
like
Imperial brown ale.
Mhm.
Imperial, but it's a much lighter and like not so thick beer. That
Yeah, it's definitely
you guys
meant
have-
to be
yeah.
a drier base.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
so
it's
like a good
interesting-
balance.
But it's funny you say that, meant to be a drier base, because like what you just said, Scott, I feel like is really true. The difference of rich and sweet,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the whiskey nuts is kind of sweet,
Yeah.
even though what Aaron had just said about the drier base, those two things like essentially mean a different thing,
Yeah.
kind of, you know, because a drier base would be less sweet.
Everyone
Yeah.
thinks rich and
Okay.
sweet are the same thing, and they are absolutely not.
And you're
Yeah.
so right. Like it's rich and full versus the other one being like kind of more like light, but still very sweet.
So
Yeah.
you
Cherry
get
sugar bomb.
in the brown ale, we're using
Yeah.
a whole bunch of like crystal malts, caramel malts, things like that, which give the impression of sweetness even when the beer is dried out a bit. And then I think also that cherry wood smoked barrel probably contributed a bit of an impression of sweetness. Well, also the wood, the oak, and everything kind of in the end gives it a tannic dryness, which is super nice. It kind of cuts that sweetness. But the Barrel God has less. It's less prominently a bunch of crystal malt and more roasted flavors. It finishes significantly sweeter. But it has like the chocolate malts, the roasted malts, those kinds of things that kind of with that back end sweetness make it like a very rich flavor versus being like upfront sweet.
Sure. And so you mixed for the whiskey nuts, right? Tattersall, you had a chocolate barrel and like smoked like
So yeah, it was
cherry
a
wood,
chocolate
whatever.
malt whiskey.
Yeah.
And then a cherry wood smoked whiskey.
So what's the most barrels that you would mix together for one beer?
Wow.
Mm.
Depending on what you're going for.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most.
So I'm here to break records, so
Yeah, so the most we've done for one like single batch ever was not a Big Beer Week release. It was actually fairly recently. We combined like 14 or 15 oak barrels together for a canned release of barrel-aged Lateralis with cacao and vanilla.
Yeah, it was actually our first attempt and our first thing of doing canning some of our barrel-aged beer. Otherwise, it's only been available in these bottles or on tap, generally at the brewery. Sometimes it gets out to some accounts, maybe.
Yeah,
Very seldom. So
almost 100%.
Yeah.
Sold from the brewery.
So in order to do a canned run of it, in order to get enough beer in a tank and do a big enough run to make it like make sense,
Yeah, there's like
from a logistics
pretty
standpoint.
large losses inherent in doing a canning run to begin with. So like, you can't just do a tiny, unless you're okay with those huge losses that
And-
just happen in a canning run.
And you said it was 14 oak barrels.
It was like
right?
14 or 15 oak barrels.
So 14 or 15 oak barrels, and those are all 53 gallons.
yeah, it was like a 30 barrel brewed batch
Right.
to begin with. I think we ended up yielding 22-ish
Yeah, you lose a lot of
beer barrels. So 22 times 31 gallons, whatever that comes out to be.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing, is that with the barrel aging, what you put into the barrel is not even close to what you get out of the barrel, especially when it spends multiple years.
Yeah, of course.
Just this year, what was the oldest barrel that we put into one of the blends this year? How old?
So the Whiskey Demigod and the Barrel God Cuvée both had nearly 3-year-old beer blended in.
So it's been sitting in the barrel, the little
Like
53
32
gallon.
months or so.
Yeah, for that long, and it's sitting back in the warehouse. It's getting hot, it's getting cold. It's been through multiple winters and summers, and I mean, they're a little over half full.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if we got 60% out of those 2 barrels.
So 26.5-ish gallons of liquid evaporates from that barrel, kind of like what we were talking about, and that's a mix of water and alcohol and varying levels of all of those things. And so it's crazy. You don't yield much, so you got to mix a lot of them together to even get a packageable amount of beer.
Well, I have a quick question on that. With you guys aging them that long in the barrels and you're losing that much, what are you guys' take on cellaring some of these? Do you think we're releasing them at the point we should be drinking them? Do you think they've got some shelf life on them? What's your take on that?
This is a key question. Thank you.
In terms of cellaring beer, because that's a common thing.
Yeah, I would say both. I mean, we're releasing them at a time that we think they are perfect for drinking. Yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that you need to cellar any of these beers before you.
But can you?
But they absolutely should hold up.
Yeah.
They will change.
Yeah.
That's why you buy 2 bottles so you can drink one. And
I
then
need 5, and I'm going to space them out over the year, and we're going to see which one comes out the best.
4 to 6 bottles.
That's
not
true.
2.
Yeah.
But I mean, part of that is one of the cool things about this weekend, having been doing it now for 6 years, and having it be such a marquee event for us, it's really a priority to save kegs, mostly kegs, but even some bottles of these, so that we can do 3, 4, 5 year vertical tastings of them during the event. And I'd say for the most part, our success rate of having everything not necessarily taste the same, but taste really great for 3, 4, 5 years has been really great. So absolutely, you buy it now. I want you to drink it now. But if you decide to save it, you should be happy with how it tastes for several years after this. And I would be surprised if that wasn't the case.
I mean, if you're interested in what beers are like after years of sitting, Sunday we're releasing Whiskey Nuts 2018, which was the first Whiskey Nuts. Am I
I
right?
think it was the second
Whiskey Nuts.
It was actually probably the
first in bottles.
First on this recipe.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because the first Whiskey Nuts we did was actually just a barrel aged version of our 2 nuts. Which just more
it's a regular brown ale.
More of an American brown ale.
It's not
brown
just a
ale was
regular.
a little bit. I think it was close to 7%, but definitely not a specifically designed beer for barrel aging like Whiskey Nuts became and is now.
Sure.
Okay.
And then
I
forgive
have
me
to air our laundry just a little bit.
Oh no.
What?
But that first Whiskey Nuts, the reason why we called it Whiskey Nuts was because it didn't go the way we wanted, so we decided to barrel age it, and we got it to where we tasted great.
So
that's
so for the
accident.
so the,
It was a
the,
happy
the thing
accident.
so
Band-Aid.
for a complete disclosure, it wasn't ever that it didn't taste great. It was that in the early days of being a brewery, we could only brew, once every 10 days or so. So yeast management could get pretty difficult. We'd be pulling yeast into yeast sprinks to save for a brew 3, 4, 5 days in the future, which isn't ideal. And we had a batch of 2 nuts that just didn't ferment initially. So we cooled the batch down when we realized that and got it in we couldn't get in the same strain of yeast that we had normally used, but we got in an alternative yeast and warmed the tank back up and pitched that, and it fermented out. And it tasted good, but it tasted different than 2 nuts was supposed to be. I think it ended up using an American ale yeast versus an English ale yeast, and just the kind of the ester profile and stuff of it was a little bit different than we wanted it to be for the 2 nuts brand. So we put it into barrels.
And what that really is like, and what's important about that is like, there's two things to know there, right? So one of those things is that the beer didn't turn out exactly like we wanted to in the first place, and so we weren't going to release it under that brand, right? We weren't going to release it under something that previously had tasted much different. So the other thing to note is it's not like using something that isn't good and trying to like put stuff in it to make it good. It is really like making lemonade out of lemons and kind of just like working with the cards that you're dealt and trying to still make something out of like the product that you have, right? And so if we would have put it into those barrels and it would have tasted like shit afterwards,
It would have gone down the drain.
then it would have went down the drain, right? But it's kind of like trying a couple different options prior to really parting ways with it, and then when the product turned out the way that you wanted it to be, then like you can feel comfortable releasing that. But it's not as if we just like, it's that's a very delicate situation.
I mean, honestly, like still to date, one of my favorite big beers of Big Beer Week was the Brunch Stout.
Oh yeah,
which I've only heard pieces of, but like I heard that was not the easiest process because that was a bunch of like trial and fixing.
Yeah, that was a
and
multi-step thing too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Big blending project on that one.
Yeah.
You guys like
And we
again,
were trying to incorporate different elements of like maple syrup and cold pressed coffee, and that was
it's so
Yeah.
good, guys.
I'm in.
It's just again like hats off to you guys because you take all these different things and you might not have exactly what you wanted, but you know how to like blend and add things where they need to be added and like
try and make it work.
yeah, like you do.
Well, it's
And
like we're not going to release it if we're not happy with it. So
Yeah.
Right.
like,
I mean,
either we're gonna work to get it to where we're happy with it, or we're gonna cut ties with it and it's gonna go down the drain. So
yeah.
I've watched
That hurts me.
not plenty of beer, but I've watched us like my first year here. I watched plenty of beer go down the
we
drain.
dump beer.
Yeah.
You dump beer. Beer goes down the drain. Money, you invest a lot of money, you invest more money in it trying to fix it, and then if it just doesn't work out, you just dump it. And that's just something that it's always been important to us and will never change. That is something that will never change. And that's something that we have a little more flexibility with now too, like the larger that you are, the slighter, more opportunities you have to
It hurts
do
a lot
that
more
kind of
when you're
thing.
smaller.
Yeah.
Fair.
Even then we did it.
Yeah.
Because like it's not worth it to not do it in our minds.
It can be damaging.
Especially to the end
Absolutely.
consumer.
Tell you what, I've gone to breweries where there was like a beer that I was like, what? No, I'm not coming back. So like, I totally get it.
Yeah.
So
We don't ever want that to happen
No.
to anyone here.
But I would also say like throughout the years you guys have also like picked up on all these different ways to continue to try and like take something that didn't turn out how you wanted it to be and turn it into something
Oh,
that
I mean,
turns
that's
out to
like,
be
that is
awesome.
like inherent in brewing, especially if you're trying new things that very, like at least the first attempt at something, very rarely is it going to turn out exactly as you want it to. So then, you got to figure out how to get it.
Yeah. And you guys create kick-ass beers from that. Like,
we're just trying to roll with the punches.
mm-hmm.
Well, speaking
now-
of rolling with the punches, we've got another barrel god to kick us in the face.
God.
Bust it
That we
out.
do.
Right?
That one's a punch.
This is going to be the fun one.
This is one of Marcus's favorite.
This
liquids.
is the one that would probably be a
And
novel.
hopefully
on the
Aaron this
label.
time around can like actually pour
Get it
all
in
the
the right
glasses correctly and not top off. Like he's just making a blend over here already. He's got like a little bit of like a
I topped off my whiskey nuts with the.
Yeah, I mean, what are the thoughts? Like, do I mix all three together and make it a further barrel mix, or how do I do this?
It would definitely be really good.
It's a new whiskey demigod.
Aaron just definitely did that on accident, and he just poured a
Marcus can
beer.
do it.
Into
That'll be my final cocktail. But so talk me through then, because again, same base beer. This is what we talked about earlier. Barrel God, same base beer. How much does it change when you do an Isla, which again is not a brand, that's a region of Scotland, to a bourbon barrel?
So the bourbon
Which
barrel.
is also not a brand. That's a.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I like you.
You could have seen his face when he said that.
So
I felt the slight dig.
Oh, this is amazing.
So, the bourbon barrels, it kind of reminds me of what we were talking about with the Isla barrels. The thing that we liked about the Isla barrel it's like, maybe if you don't super love Scotch, that could make Scotch more approachable to you. It tastes like Scotch, but it's maybe not as intense as a competed Scotch, and it's just a little more drinkable while still getting the essence of Scotch. So I personally have really felt the same way ever since I started here. I wasn't like big barrel-aged beers weren't my number one thing, but they slowly became my thing. And also like bourbon was really never kind of my thing, but they allowed it to become more approachable because it kind of gives that same thing of you can get the flavors of bourbon, of a unique type of spirit without having to drink it if maybe you if you don't care for drinking straight bourbon, if you don't care for drinking spirits. It allows you to experience those flavors in maybe a way that could be more approachable to you. And so we get those differences in all the barrels that we really use. That's like something that is pulled from the different barrels is kind of the ability to experience that spirit in a more like mild way potentially. And I mean with these, so with the bourbon barrels too, I think since we're sourcing them within the United States, we have the greater chance of them being a little more freshly dumped than the Isla Scotch barrels, right?
Well, and also bourbon they have to be brand new barrels for it to be bourbon. So when we're getting Scotch barrels, they've often been bourbon barrels first, and then they're Scotch barrels, and then they travel back across the ocean.
Well, that's an important point because then that causes like the oak contribution is very different because they're fresh charred barrels for bourbon versus being previously used and the char somewhat kind of slurped out of it by the bourbon when it gets over to be like a Scotch barrel. So bourbon, these barrels, I'd say, so I mean, it's fair to say that in general, something like this, you get a lot more of like that vanilla, the oak, the tannic, kind of those strong oaky flavors.
Okay.
But if you read the description on the cuvee,
let's quiz him actually.
Okay.
Without looking at a cheat sheet, could you list all the barrels involved with this cuvee?
In the cuvee?
Yeah.
So I have a feeling you're going to miss one.
Yep,
the years or the variety?
Everything. What do you got off the top of
Even
your head?
if you can just list the different barrels.
It's a lot. I'd be really impressed.
So I'm going to say there's some of this is Woodford Reserve.
Okay, here's one.
I think that there's Four Roses as well.
Yep.
So both of those are how old?
Those ones those were released last year. Okay. So those were 2021 releases.
How long did they sit in the barrel?
Let's
for?
not get hung up on the age. Let's just hit the barrels because like that's gonna be like that is gonna be a
good
tough
point.
one.
That's fair. Yeah. So you got two. There's 5 total.
Wow. And I know the one that you're gonna.
What day of the week and what time?
I know. I'm like getting the answers right, and they're trying to get more specific.
Get it more right, bitch.
Let's just see if you got this.
You got two.
I think. Okay, so I want to. And you're saying that there's something that I'm gonna miss. I feel like is one of a rum barrel.
Oh shit!
Fuck you guys! Look at that. Let's go. See,
rum is my favorite brand.
He was going on and on about bourbon. I was to be like, I don't know if you know. There's
so what kind of rum? Is that even on there?
Captain Morgan, bro.
That's a big hint. That's a huge hint. You should really have it by now.
Yeah, that one. I guess rum. Kiss my ass. That's all you get. And then I think.
Where did I go? Where did I just go?
Where were you?
You were gone.
I didn't even know you were gone.
Sampling big beers that week while she was away.
I mean, then I think the other two. Honestly, I think Wild Turkey.
Yeah, one to go.
That's the oldest one.
Come on. Okay.
This is why I made the cheat sheet, by the way.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna
Shot
Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace is always the first pick.
Okay, I don't know. I thought that was pretty good.
So this is the only spot that the Buffalo Trace actually makes an appearance this year.
Yeah.
The rest of those Buffalo Trace barrels are going to age for another year.
Speaking of only place that something makes an appearance, maybe I missed it because holy shit, is this the intense PDF? But that's a good thing. It's a really good problem to have. But I literally went through the entire thing, like skimming as quick as I could. And until the second to last flavor on the entire thing in the last beer, did I finally see peanut butter. Is that the only peanut butter beer you guys are doing this big beer week?
Wow.
Unfortunately,
They won't even look me in the eye. They won't even look me in the eye. They didn't do peanut butter.
Like, come on, look at that name, guys. Scotcheroo. Please tell me you know what a
No, that's great.
Scotcheroo is. Like,
actually,
that's
so
ode to the Midwest.
Nisha won't acknowledge this, but my real name is Scott, and my mother-in-law makes Scotcheroos, and she calls them Scotteroos because I like them so much.
I love that.
That's awesome.
So we made that beer for you.
Scott, next time you're here, I'll make you Scotteroos.
God bless you, Tracy. God bless you.
Next week.
That's a really good point, though, dude. Because like, as something that is pretty popular adjunct, people love peanut butter. I love peanut butter. You know, I mean, that is surprising. That's an oversight on our part. We'll have one every day.
The first collaboration beer we do together is gonna have no adjunct besides peanut butter.
I'm in. Let's do it. Yeah. I just talked about this on Friday night on a different podcast, but it was like, to this date, my favorite infusion we ever did was whiskey nuts with peanut butter in it.
A Scotch barrel.
And it was like,
get me.
It was like a super boozy liquid Reese's peanut butter cup. Like,
the best.
That's the one where you're gonna need a ride home after you've been drinking.
Scott, what are your thoughts here on, and your shy friend who's in the background? What are both?
Yeah, my shy friend in the background. He will just give his power rankings because he liked all of them, but in order, he said Whiskey Nuts #1, number 2 Cuvée, number 3 Isla. He said he definitely got the smokiness and the peatiness, and he's just not a fan of it. So that's why that went 3rd. But he still liked the beer, so that's a testament.
Nice.
For me, so this one, the last one, the Cuvée, we've got the same type of like syrupy, rich, right? Same type of beer as the Isla was, but this one was just a lot more basic to me. Like there weren't crazy flavors coming in. It was a lot more like just a standard stout almost, and then it had a little bit of that oakiness to it that I really like. So it's like a really good subtle rich beer, whereas the Isla was like strong in the direction of the Isla, which again I liked it. I thought it was good, but I definitely would take the Cuvée over the Isla personally.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love
now.
This.
Hang on, we have Kamikaze.
Look at that.
All 3 or just 2 of the 3?
Do you know what a Kamikaze is?
All 3.
Apparently not.
It's a brand.
You've never gone to McDonald's and just hit every single pop on the soft serve. Oh baby.
Liquor taste.
Wow, it's actually really good. It's interesting because kind of like we talked about, if you went back and forth between the sweet and the rich, like the light and sweet with the rich and the thick kind of came together, and it was nice that we had a little bit more of the thick and rich, right? Because we got both of them. But I don't know, maybe all 3 is my top pick. Kamikaze.
So you should make.
Definitely need to come out and get the whiskey
Demigod.
demigod, because that's kind of what that brand is all about. Is combining the whiskey and the barrel god.
Yeah.
Well, he tried chocolate orange when he was here, right?
Yes, chocolate orange was good. That was a very good one.
That's fair. That had adjunct.
Now, we talked about the Scotcheroos, which is a big one on my list, but we have to ask, because you guys don't have a ton on the list that fall in the IPA category. Awesome name, awesome branding. Sorry, we're going to cover you up again, Jason. But we have the Opulent Octopus. Whoa, there's 2 Opulent Octopuses. I didn't even see the second one. Opulent Octopus Orgasm. Talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Well, Opulent Octopus is pivoted around
the organ.
What? Hang on. The flavor profile for Opulent Octopus Orgasm. Triple IPA with pineapple, mango, vanilla, coconut, and Isha. Can you guess the last adjunct? If you went to a strip club.
Went to a strip club? I'm just thinking of that PETA commercial.
What does glitter mean in the adjunct? What does glitter mean? What is that?
It makes it opulent.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Quite literally put beer glitter in the beer. It makes it all shimmery and pretty and super gimmicky.
Okay.
So Aaron is out and us. I mean, some of us brewers have more apprehension to putting those things in than others, and
I'm the most crotchety.
Yeah, and even I'm we've done it. We've done it before.
You're not the most crotchety.
We've put glitter in a beer before, but it took a lot of convincing. The gang over here, they
looks
love
sexy on social media.
Yeah,
there you go.
And so,
all over the Instagram.
Yeah, it's just kind of fun, right? It's just kind of one of those things. It's fun to put in. We were
never go in an actual brewing tank.
Yeah.
And there's the crotchety.
It's a gimmick and it's fun.
Yeah.
And here at Lupulin, you can never say never.
Yeah, right. True. Yeah. So it's really just meant to be big triple IPA, the Opulent Octopus Orgasm. It's the Opulent Octopus. Well, go ahead.
So the Orgasm is kind of a flavor profile we've done a bunch of different times. Originally, it was the chocolate porter a really long time ago. Since then, we've done it in Blissful Ignorance. We've done it in Fashion Mullet. We've done a bunch of different of these orgasms, and it's basically just adding pineapple, mango, vanilla, and coconut to a beer. And we find in IPAs it's super good. And so one of our infusions on Friday is Opulent Octopus Orgasm.
I like it. All right, 2 questions then we have for you guys here to end it off. First off, really excited for Big Beer Week. Honestly, I wasn't even aware of it before, so this is really cool. But do you have any other big events that you guys host like this throughout the year, or is this kind of standalone?
Yeah, I mean, Big Beer Week kind of kicks it off for us. It's our first big event of the year. I'd say the other 3, maybe I'm missing some, but the ones that are coming to me right away are Straight Hash Homie, usually right around 420.
Nice.
Is our Straight Hash Homie and DDH Straight Hash Homie kind of weed party without the weed. Maybe some people bring some stuff.
Maybe not without.
We'll host it in Vancouver Island next time. There'll be no shortage.
Please invite us. We'll come.
May is our anniversary party.
Oktoberfest.
And the other big one's Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we have different ones that we sprinkle in throughout the year, so everybody should
Those
just
are definitely
those are the 3 big ones.
And none of them are as long. That's what's so cool about Big Beer Week. It's 8 fucking days.
Yeah.
Just of those kind of level of events, but it's 8 days of it. And what's crazy is that we get on a Tuesday,
it's
on a Wednesday.
It's 8 Saturdays in a row.
Yeah, and the turnout that we get, it's everyone else thinks it's Saturday. When they come out on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it's crazy the amount of people that come out and get all banged up on a weekday.
Well, I think it speaks to just how this event has grown and evolved, the evolution and the dedication and following Big Beer Week has created, because I remember when it was just 7 days and you could come in and sample these beers. And if you came in 4 days, you got this cool t-shirt, and we've grown it to be this thing with this following of people that before COVID and we had to change some stuff. They're right. I've been a dedicated follower since day one, and we were always that couple that was waiting for the doors to open, and the infusion wouldn't release until an hour later. And you could bet that we were probably starting and creating that new line for the infusion, waiting because we wanted to try it because it was so limited back in the day. And we've grown this to just be this thing where people take the whole week off of work, they go and get a hotel, they find people they can stay with, and it's just something that is so cool to see how many people we've been able to bring in here because of this week and the following we've created, and the how many new fans we have because we do this week, and people are able to come here and see all these cool things these brewers do that are not showcased out in the market, and you have to be here to see that. And I'm always blown away by it.
Something Tracy hit on that I don't think we talked about yet is the t-shirts. Which is one of the ways we're able to tell that people actually do come all 8 days and travel all the way from the cities. So when you come to Big Beer Week, we get a punch card when you first show up, and we punch your punch card each time you show up, basically one
per day.
punch for each day. And if you show up 4 out of the 8 days, you get the 4-day T-shirt. And if you show up all 8 days, you get the coveted bragging rights enabled 8-day T-shirt. We do not sell the T-shirts. They're new every year. There's no other way to get them other than coming every single day. And we're able to tell just from the names and addresses and the people that get them that literally hundreds of people drive all the way from the cities all 8 days just to get the T-shirt.
Sometimes further away.
Well, and not only that, but then the people that wear like previous year's shirts to this current year's Big Beer Week, you can almost see like how long they've been.
That's cool.
Like, what year shirt do they possibly have? Like, it's really cool.
If you like that octopus graphic, better show up all 8 days.
That I wish I could. I have an asshole co-host that's coming in April for 2 weeks, and I have to take all my PTO for that. So. By the way, how are you guys going to top this event when I bring him out to visit you guys when he's here in April?
Oh, we'll top it.
We're going to pump you guys full of as much beer as we can find.
They're just going to funnel one of the barrels straight to you, Isha, and you're going to die.
We're going to pull the nail out, and you just have to keep drinking until it stops flowing.
Lift the barrel up to the top of the brew deck, and then you're going to sit down below with the beer bong.
As long as Hoppy films it all and we put it on my YouTube channel, I'm game for anything.
Double decker beer bongs off the brew deck.
Can you imagine the views we'd get if you died on like video?
I mean, Hoppy'd get monetized off my death. We'll try
you would
not
die
to
happy. You would die happy.
I would.
I don't know if you guys just saw, but Marcus just went kamikaze too. So.
I'm doing it.
Oh, what do you think, Marcus? How do we feel?
Fantastic.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Actually, like if you're ever looking for like what to blend, Marcus is your guy. That's like his favorite thing to do is pick different beers and blend them. And
the blender. I like it.
I got one final question. And it actually coincides with the schedule here and everything you have on tap being released. Was there any method to the madness? Did you guys put the schedule together in any certain way, or is it just
it was totally random?
That could be true.
Giant dartboard.
Aaron would have the best.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron honestly put together most of it.
He made the schedule. He told us what to write when.
The infusions, I put the schedule together, kind of based on a couple things that we'd done in the past, like the triple IPA was going to be released on Friday. That was partly so that we can get it over to Sioux Falls for a release over there on the same day.
Okay.
It won't be ready in time, or it wasn't ready in time for our bi-weekly shipments last week, so it'll have to ship next week. Well, that was kind of the one parameter.
Friday's kind of always been like the IPA day too, since we started bringing those in.
So want to let the IPA rip on Friday.
And then just having one of the new beers each day. And then
the New Year's beers?
Yeah, like the beers that are being
released
in like with the bottle releases, having one each day.
Okay.
Or 7 out of the 8 days.
So where do I pick up my to-go versions of the barrel-aged Lateralis Scotcheroos and the Opulent Octopus Orgasm?
There are no to-goes of any of them.
You'd better
You're
be
gonna have
here.
to fill a glass.
No, we're going to delete this part from the video. Where do I get it?
Yeah,
Get it here.
Guarantee a taste of it. You're going to want to buy a ticket to get your butt in the seat.
Yeah, you even have so like there's
That's 2 different days. I can't commit to 2 different days. That's a long drive.
Buy a ticket.
I have a family.
We've
are your family.
We've got other options than buying the ticket. You can also show up and we'll have standing room only. We'll have a tent open as long as the weather's nice. The patio will be going. So,
but it doesn't exist.
If you can make it up,
is just getting out here more than
Yeah, no, it does.
Like,
Unfortunately, it doesn't
here.
exist anywhere other than on tap here. Those infusions.
All right, so once the recording stops, we'll talk for real. I got you.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, you just got to take it. You got to put it like in a coffee mug and just drive it home or something.
I mean,
we don't condone that, by the way.
Just get a glass, dump it in.
I mean, if you don't drink it while you're driving home,
I have no qualms.
put it in your back seat, drink it when you get home.
I'm going to walk away from this conversation.
Our laws in Canada are a lot different.
Scott, that's kind of the cool part of that's another part of the Big Beer Week thing, and the people that come here is like, they know that they're only going to get these kinds of things here and nowhere else. Like
Here and on that day.
Yes, and on that specific day, like that's what I'm saying. Like I remember back in the day, these infusions used to be so much smaller, and like you literally had to be here by the time that infusion was being tapped.
You weren't in
or
line.
you probably weren't going to get it.
So let's fight. What's the best day?
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can't do that. That's a cop out.
Dude,
Let me look.
I feel like personally Friday, because you have the highest chance of like a bunch of shit being on tap from the previous days of the week. So you could have like kind of a carryover of the good stuff. And I'm a huge IPA guy, so like I would want to be able to slam some Opulent Octopus and be able to drink that. So otherwise, I go Friday, Saturday, or Sunday of the last 3 days.
The correct answer is the second Sunday because peanut butter.
No.
Yeah.
Marcus is the winner. He comes back. He's the only one welcome back on the show. You all lose. Goodbye.
In all seriousness,
I would say Monday, actually, because on Monday you get potentially to drink the 2 oldest beers that we are releasing this whole time. That's assuming that the Whiskey Nuts 18 doesn't blow from Sunday. You get to try the Barrel God 17 on Monday, and you get 2 new releases, the Whiskey Nuts and the Rum Barrel God, and also 2 kick-ass infusions.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, I like you, but Marcus is voted president. Peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
And also Monday, you still like, if you want something other than a big beer, there's still going to be a few options for you.
Which peanut butter beer do you have on Monday?
Oh,
Marcus.
That's a good point. If you're bringing people that don't like any of these beers, make sure you get here earlier in the week, or they're probably going to be,
both NA options will still be on tap on
by the second Sunday. It's probably 35 big beers on tap.
Yeah. I remember walking up there and just like saying surprise.
Isha, I'm not going to be on the podcast that Sunday.
It only sucks because it's like I feel bad for those that want something light, because it's like I like to have a little like snake while I'm working, but like if you look at it and it's 13%, you're like, well, I'm gonna have to call for a ride home after work.
You take little bumps of the light beers.
Yeah. Well, that's why we keep Blissful on tap the whole time, right?
No, I could.
You get to sell bottles of Belgian blonde.
This is one heck of a list. Like we are gonna have some big beers, some good beers.
Hang on, guys. We got something there. Hang on, Aaron. You're brilliant. You have 1 or 2 like lighter beers that you sell for 3x the price during Big Beer Week. It's a punishment because you shouldn't be drinking non-big beers duringIg Beer Week. But hey, if you want to go light and if you want to be soft, you pay for it.
We should even charge for water.
Yes.
No. No.
Oh
man.
It just shows that, like, if you're going to be dedicated this week, it means you're dedicated to big beers, and you're here to enjoy these beers. And I think that's super cool, honestly. Like,
or you're here to get a really cool T-shirt.
Yeah, one of the 2.
We did. There's got to be food during this, right? Or people are going to die.
Except for one, but basically every day.
Yeah. So, like right now, I have got. Well, you're going to twist this towards me while I'm like.
He's thinking
and rubbing my ear.
It's okay. I'll cover you.
So right now we've got 7 food trucks lined up. We've got everything from smoked meats, gyros, beer-infused chilies coming out, like chili, like the soup, or stew, whatever you want to call it.
So we've got fun.
That threw me for a loop. What's chilies? The soup?
It's not fucking soup or stew. It's chili.
It's chili. I said chilies, which I wanted to make sure they were getting a giant pepper.
It was a fucking full chili.
Right. We got.
If you want conversations this fun, come to Big Beer Week.
Man. Now, hey guys, we are obliged. We are obligated to mention this for all of our friends under the contract of friendship, of course, with our good pals at 7th Avenue Pizza. If you're ever interested or open to the idea of serving frozen pizza in your tap room, we absolutely have the hookup. We can get it done literally by Big Beer Week, I bet. So you let us know.
Pizza in the tap room. I would love this.
Just get a couple pizza ovens and you're set.
Sitting in.
You sell them for 2x, and I guarantee you, our boy Matt at 7th Avenue Pizza will hand deliver them at the start of Big Beer Week, and you will be so happy because they are the best frozen pizzas we have ever had.
It sounds unbelievable. And as always, talking to you, all of you folks, is always so much fun. Lupulin, I mean, shoot, I haven't even visited you guys in person yet. You're some of my favorite people in Minnesota.
Oh, so I can't wait until you guys black him the fuck
We're looking
out.
forward to seeing you.
We're stoked to have you.
We're looking forward to it, boys.
Oh man, I feel like this is like
they're
initiation
salivating, just waiting to bury you.
Yeah, seriously.
Hey, I'm honored.
Yeah,
I'm
we're really
honored.
looking forward to it.
I'm excited. Oh, absolutely. One more time. I know Big Beer Week is coming up, and you have some amazing stuff on tap for the biggest string of days I've ever seen a beer festival or event. Other than everything you guys got coming up there, because we've been talking about it this last hour, where can everyone find you on social media, and what's unique about your guys' social media compared to some of the other folks out there? Because I know that I was drawn to your Instagram account, over not even just other beer accounts, but other like food and other visual stuff. So pump up your social media and let us know what else you got coming in the next couple of weeks here.
Yeah, that's Marcus in the photography. He absolutely kills it every time.
So much that Instagram is shadow blocking him.
Yeah, we're kind of shadow banned or something. But
we do honestly appear to be shadow banned.
Yeah, we're apparently shadow banned at the moment.
So Instagram, it is Lupulin_Brewing. Facebook, I believe it's just, what is it, Lupulin Brewing?
Lupulin Brewing Company?
Just
if you Google it,
yeah, if you find,
search all your favorite things for Lupulin Brewing, and you're gonna figure it out.
Yep,
it'll be fun.
We promise better internet connection
TikTok.
if you search us on any social media platform.
We're not super active on Twitter. We have the account, but Instagram's where it should go.
Let us just take over the Twitter account. We'll do it for you.
Okay.
Maybe you want
Hired.
to.
Sure.
Work for free? Cool.
Isha, you got it.
It's what I do. Again, Lupulin Brewing, check them out, everybody. If you haven't already made plans to go check out even one of the days of Big Beer Week, I mean, we recommend going and at least getting a string of days together to get a t-shirt. I mean, that's the goal, right? That's the goal. Support them. They're friends of the podcast. Again, this was outstanding. I love the round table vibe here. I'm without Lupulin beer, but it feels like I'm sitting there with all you guys in the great state of Minnesota. So thank you so much for your time. Have a tremendous week. I know Hoppy will be reporting on a little bit of it on the Sota pod. And of course, I'm so excited to visit you guys in just over a month now. So again, thanks for making time for us here on the podcast.